name is Hanns-Christian Mahler. I'm CEO and founder of 1023 Health. Um, I guess we'll be talking a little bit more about 1023 Health. We're a contract development and manufacturing service organization for sterile dosage forms. From my personal background, I'm a pharmacist by training, studied pharmacy in Germany, then went on to work for Merck, Roche, as well as Lonza in due course, and then started the journey with 1023 Health in 2021. Well, firstly, I think there's a variety of therapeutic modalities now for sterile dosage forms. If you think of it traditionally, they were mostly small molecule drugs like decades ago. Everything was obviously aiming to be an oral dosage form or anything topical local. So sterile dosage forms like a few decades ago were probably not that interesting. Nowadays, all the therapeutic modalities with biologics, with conjugates, such as ADCs, viral vector, cell therapy, etc., all needs to be parenterally administered, so injected, infused into the human body, and that's why I would probably say also from a formulation challenge perspective, if you look at some of the more recent modalities like cell and gene therapies, I would probably say the challenge I'd see here is that they have not received on a lot of attention on formulation at all. I think they've been basically leveraging what was just used for a prior product. So I would probably say the status of formulation for those components is like the 1980s in relation to antibody formulation at that point of time. So it's like grab and go and don't think too much about it. Um, so I think there's ample opportunity on those. For biologics, if you think about biologics and antibodies or bispecifics in particular, I would totally agree that high concentration formulations are of utmost importance. There is quite an increase in products that are administered subcutaneously, thank God, thankfully, also from a patient perspective. And that will bring some challenges because you need to really put all the dose into that, preferably single shot to be administered to a patient. And that comes with typically with higher concentration. With higher concentration, you typically encounter higher viscosities. You may encounter some stability liabilities, or basically you combine for that subcutaneous administration larger administration volumes, which comes with yet another level of complexity because you may be need to administer maybe 10 or more milliliters subcutaneously into the tissue, which comes with a whole range of other challenges. We see quite a range of these programs. I think if I summarize the challenge that I see most is that I think to the most part, many companies have not paid a lot of attention on adequate product design, not thinking thoroughly about what is actually the intended target product profile when it comes to administered volume, when it comes to concentration, understanding failure modes, so things like formulation robustness. And various companies are pushing quite forward into a timeline on manufacturing, being quite driven on the timeline. And then I always think that you gotta you gotta put in your goal first, then develop against it, understand the failure modes, and then go into manufacturing rather than the other opposite way around, because that's where you otherwise see the challenges in manufacturing, and then it's usually quite expensive to get these things repaired. I think the key question for an innovator is on the outset, either they have a new molecule that would benefit from going sub-Q from an indication perspective, and in that case, basically they have to think about the dosing options that will exist. So if you start from the get-go from a molecule and you typically only find out the dose in your pivotal studies, it could mean that you end up with a 400 milligram dose, an 800 milligram dose, or maybe a, I don't know, 1200 or God prevent a 2000 milligram dose for a given molecule. And then it means that from the get-go, you need to think about the different optionalities on how to get this material actually into a patient. So how much volume, what's the concentration, how do you gonna administer it? Do you want to put it into a cartridge, into a syringe? Does it still fit an auto injector? Does it have to go on an on-body injector? So I think it's really about the optionality and thinking about the flexibility and the design space of all the things that you may require, not knowing what the final dose would be. The second option for innovators is then if you convert an existing IV product into a sub-Q, and there's various examples also from larger corporates out there in the market where the initial maybe even oncology product has been administered intravenously, and then you go to sub-Q, and that obviously requires a different kind of consideration. For example, maybe your IV product was dosed based on body weight, and now you have to go into a flat dose sub-Q. You can model about your PK and need some data, but at least it's good to know you have an orienting dose, which is the IV dose, and you don't start like thinking through the whole design space. Now, what I think traditionally has been the model and still is for the most part, the model is that a lot of the innovators make these plans with themselves and then think of having a CDMO partner for the things that they cannot do themselves. So, for example, the product could end up being in a 1 milliliter syringe auto-injector, in a 2 ml syringe auto-injector, in a 5 ml cartridge auto-injector/pen configuration, or on a 10 milliliter cartridge and on-body injector. And maybe they will just call a CDMO for the 5 ml cartridge AI or the 10 ml cartridge OBI version, or maybe they call different CDMOs for the different solutions. Now that would be quite interesting because obviously the optionality of what could be the outcome is still very open. And similarly to when development of the products being done versus the manufacturing, I think a lot of the innovators look to develop internally and then manufacture externally for the special boutique applications. You could also take it from the other way around, and that's the approach we've taken at 1023 is we are ready to actually be there for a customer to a priori from the outset actually plan on what these optionalities would be. So talking to a customer and looking at the clinical programs to think of what would the product look like at 200 milligram dose, 400, 800, 1200, and then think through what does it mean for the formulation development targets, and we would then develop those formulations into the right containers, being a syringe, cartridge, whatever, and then basically being supporting device selection as well. And we can do that all on our manufacturing line. So at the end of the day, our approach is to provide advice and build that design space into the actual product to be developed, and then to be providing, the supply chain solution that goes alongside. And that, I believe, provides quite some optionality for the companies from it would streamline your CDMO search. You would not be left alone in, your own room behind the doors, thinking through the strategy and then trying to find someone just for the execution part. I think we want to be supporting really from the design perspective and then providing optionality and flexibility there. Let me start off by saying that we truly believe in partnerships along the value chain, and I think it's very important for CDMOs, supplies, the whole industry to really think about more from a partnership to provide healthcare solutions. And we do that with a range of companies. On the RFID, I think it's a very clever solution that was developed and is being commercialized by BD here, where there's basically a radio frequency identifier that is embedded in the primary packaging in the rigid needle shield, and with that, you basically have the opportunity to track on individual unit levels. So basically, you could tell if you've included that into your manufacturing stream, you could basically tell by the syringe you're holding in your hand as a patient or whoever, with maybe a mobile tracker device, like maybe even iPhone-based kind of solution, where you could actually identify the details that you actually want to include. For example, you could include manufacturing date, you could include product name, you can include product strength, and you can do batch numbers and things like that. And that really provides a lot of opportunity because it allows you to really go back from individual unit to basically the whole value chain as much as you want it. And that has great benefits for traceability in case there would be, challenges in the market and you need to find out and trace it back. But even from an anti-counterfeiting perspective, I mean, it's like being able to identify, is this really my antibody XYZ from originator company, or has someone just, I don't know, refilled it or is making a copycat of my medicine, etc. So that would be helped as well. From a manufacturer perspective, as a CDMO, and we've run a variety of studies and also looked at that, for example, from seemingly simple unit operations like visual inspection, where we had the operators just tagging in the samples that they're inspecting right now. It's wonderful because it can really help you with the whole, counting aspect, which basically means that the whole process is just more robust, less prone to error, where you have instead of having human counting being involved for the whole counting. So there's numerous benefits, I think, from a user perspective. You have the drug you have. From a pharma company perspective, you can basically avoid to be mistaken for copycats, and from a manufacturer's perspective as well. Yeah, so indeed, 1023 is exhibiting. You'll find the 1023 booth in 61F78. So go look for us there. And apart from that, I'm looking forward to meeting old friends, making a lot of new friends at the show. I think it will be buzzing with excitement and a lot of folks across the whole healthcare industry. In a setting in the Frankfurt Rhine-Main area that I called home for the first 30 plus years of my life. So it feels like going home and being in a cozy atmosphere. And yeah, looking forward to the show and hope to see you there as well.